It was Christmas Eve, 1945. 10 children went to sleep in their home in West Virginia, excited for the morning. Just after midnight, their house caught fire. George and Jennie Sodder escaped with 4 of their children. 5 did not come out. When the fire was over, the bodies of Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jennie, and Betty were not in the ashes. No remains, no bones, nothing. The official verdict was that they died in the fire. Their parents believed something far darker, that their children were still alive. And for the next 39 years, they put up a billboard on the highway with their children's faces, just in case someone knew. No one ever came forward. This is the Sodder Children Mystery.
George Sodder was an Italian immigrant who came to America in 1908. He settled in Fayetteville, West Virginia, started a trucking business, hauling coal, and built a life. He married Jennie Cipriani, also an Italian immigrant, and together they had 10 children. By all accounts, they were a loud, loving, tightly bonded family. Their home on Christmas Eve 1945 was full of children, ranging from 2 years old to 23. One son, Joe, was away serving in the army. The other 9 were home for the holiday. George Sodder was not a man who stayed quiet about his opinions. He was openly and vocally against Benito Mussolini and the fascist government of Italy. He said so publicly, in his community, to anyone who would listen. Not everyone appreciated that, and it would matter later.
The children stayed up late on Christmas Eve, too excited to sleep. Around midnight, Jennie Sodder went to bed. George followed not long after. But before he fell asleep, he received a strange late-night phone call from a woman he did not recognize, asking for someone he had never heard of. He told her she had the wrong number and went to sleep. That phone call was the last normal moment the family ever had. Just after 1 in the morning, Jennie woke up to the smell of smoke. The house was on fire.
George rushed downstairs and found the living room and office in flames. He shouted for the children and began getting people out. He, Jennie, and 4 children, Marion, John, George Jr., and toddler Sylvia, made it out of the house. Then George tried to go back in. He broke a window. He tried to climb up the side of the building. He could not get back in. The fire was moving too fast. Then he ran to his trucks. He needed to drive one close to the house, climb onto the roof, and pull the children out through the upper windows. Neither truck would start. George Sodder, a coal hauler whose livelihood depended on his trucks, could not get either of them to start. On a flat road, after they had been working perfectly the day before. Marion ran to a neighbor's house to call the fire department. The phone line was dead. The department was 2 miles away. Help did not arrive until 8 in the morning, 7 hours after the fire started. By then, the house had burned to the ground. Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jennie, Betty. 5 children. Not found outside, not found inside. Just gone. George kept a ladder propped against the house for emergencies. On the night of the fire, it was gone. It was found later, thrown into a bush over 75 feet away. No one could explain how it got there, or who moved it before the fire. The next morning, after the fire,
Both trucks started on the first try. A mechanic who examined them found that someone had disconnected the fuses from the inside, so the ignition would not work. The phone line had been cut. A man was later found who admitted to cutting the line that night, but claimed he had only wanted to steal equipment and had nothing to do with the fire. He was never charged. No investigation followed. A house fire, even a total destruction fire, leaves something. Bones, teeth, the metal from belt buckles. Investigators found no human remains in the ash. In 1949, George hired a pathologist to excavate the site. They found a single piece of vertebrae, which the Smithsonian identified as belonging to someone aged 16 to 22. All 5 missing children were between 5 and 14. It did not match any of them. The fire chief arrived hours after the fire. He reportedly found what he called a liver in the rubble and declared it proof the children died in the fire. No one verified this claim. He then bulldozed the site without telling the family. Whatever physical evidence remained was destroyed. About a year before the fire, an insurance salesman came to the Sodder home and tried to sell George a policy. George refused. The salesman reportedly told him, and this is documented, that his house was going to go up in smoke and his children were going to be destroyed. George later discovered this man had connections to the Sicilian mafia. George and Jennie did not accept the official conclusion. They hired private investigators. They contacted the FBI. J. Edgar Hoover wrote back personally, but said it fell outside federal jurisdiction. The state of West Virginia held 2 hearings in 1950 and then told the family the case was hopeless and closed it. So George Sodder did the only thing left that he could do. In 1952, he built a billboard, a large sign on the side of their property along Route 16, the faces of all 5 missing children, offering a $5,000 reward for information, later raised to $10,000. Thousands of cars drove past that billboard every week. It stood for 39 years. Sightings came in. A hotel manager in Charleston said she saw 4 children matching the descriptions, traveling with Italian-speaking adults a few days after the fire. Other reported sightings came from across the country. None of these leads ever went anywhere. George died in 1969, never knowing what happened to his children. Jennie died in 1989, never knowing either. The billboard was taken down after Jennie passed. In 1967, 22 years after the fire, Jennie Sodder received an envelope in the mail. Inside was a photograph. It showed a young man, perhaps in his late 20s. On the back of the photo, in handwriting, were the words, "Louis Sodder, I love you, Brother Frankie. Illeal Boys, A90132. Louis had been 9 years old when he disappeared. Jennie believed it was him. The resemblance was striking. The family hired investigators to trace the photo. They reached a dead end. The young man in the photograph was never found. That photograph now sits framed in the family home, the closest thing this family ever got to a sign that their children might have survived. The official position is still that all 5 children perished in the fire. Investigators have argued that fires can consume human remains completely under extremely high heat. The absence of remains, they say, does not mean the children were not there. The death certificates issued on December 30th, 1945 have never been formally revoked. The Sodder family believed until their deaths that the fire was arson, set deliberately to cover the abduction of their children. The missing ladder, the disabled trucks, the cut phone line, the insurance man's threat, the total absence of remains. All of it pointed to a coordinated operation. Someone had planned it. George was publicly outspoken against Mussolini at a time when the Italian-American mafia had significant influence in communities across the US. Some investigators have theorized that the children were taken as punishment for his anti-fascist stance, possibly brought to Italy. The surviving Sodder children recalled a black car following them home from school in the weeks before the fire. It has been 80 years. Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jennie, and Betty have never been found. No suspects were ever charged. No human remains matching the children have ever been recovered. The case is officially closed. The family never got an answer. Sylvia Sodder, who was only 2 years old on the night of the fire, continued to publicize this case into the 21st century. She and her children have given interviews, pressed for answers, and kept the names of Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jennie, and Betty from being forgotten. The billboard is gone now, but if you drive through Fayetteville, West Virginia, people still know the story. A family asked for 39 years. Nobody ever answered. 5 children. Christmas Eve. A fire with no bodies. A billboard that stood for nearly 4 decades. A photograph that arrived 22 years too late. The Sodder Children Mystery is still officially open. Drop your theory in the comments. What do you think happened to them? Subscribe for more cases like this.
There are more families still waiting for answers.